Welcome back to another episode of the Leaders in Construction podcast. Today, we're sitting down with someone whose work transforms homes into living art. Based in New York, Carole is known for creating colourful, vibrant spaces that blend fine craftsmanship with luxury design, all while making each home feel deeply personal, secure, and energizing. Carole, I've been looking forward to this one. Your projects feel more like emotional experiences than just interiors. How did you get started in this journey?
It's a great pitch, Daniel. Thank you for having me. You really understand what I do. How did I get started in interior design or in this business, in my business specifically?
Let's go from the beginning to the end. We had a little bit of a chat off air, so let's dive into that a little bit more, maybe in a
Okay.
more friendly way.
So it all started in 1987. So I was born and raised in Paris. I have a little different background, which I think a lot of people in New York have. I did a lot of different things. So I studied science in high school. I specialized in math, physics, and chemistry because I went to medical school for one day and one day only. Then I went to law school for 6 years. I finished that. I did a master's in business law, specialized in intellectual property. And then I went in law offices and I realized lawyers, no offense to lawyers, but were just highly paid secretaries who are just shuffling a bunch of paperwork around. I think I saw it more as like we're going to jail and saving criminals because initially I wanted to do criminal law. Anyway, I decided it's not what I wanted to do. Went back to school, did a master's in design, luxury, and innovation. I worked for a luxury company in Paris called Hermès for 3 years, where I was doing product development for small leather goods. And then I was organizing events for high-end jewelry and watches. And then after 3 years, I loved working for Hermès. I loved the company, but Paris felt a little small, a little comfortable, and I always thought that I could do something bigger. I always wanted to have my own company. I just didn't know in what exactly. So I moved to New York on a whim, and I needed a job immediately because it's an expensive city. So I applied to one job and got hired immediately in an interior design company. They were doing luxury lightings, marble tables, and it was a very interesting experience. Then I worked for another company where we were doing upholstery, and then I worked for custom beds where we were creating $85,000 beds. That was a starting price, and believe it or not, they sell really, really well. And then I looked at my resume and I was like, okay, I'm gonna start a company in interior design, but I have one trade I'm not familiar with, which is plumbing, which is not the most glamorous side of interior design. So then I got hired by a plumbing company where I oversaw everything from faucets to shower heads, shower doors, sinks, a lot of plumbing. So I was in all the aspects of the business, the quality control, the business development, the marketing, the finances. And I was kind of interrogating every department to kind of see how a business worked because that person was obviously doing something right. And I had the chance throughout all these experiences to work directly with the CEO of the companies. So I really got to see what their job looked like. I wasn't on the bottom with a very specific task. I got to overview everything that needed to be done. And then I decided to start my own company in luxury interior design. And later on, I added to that art advisory. And that was 6 years ago.
Perfect. So, look, it seems like you're a very analytical person. You're very goal orientated. So, your designs have such a strong sense of personality and confidence. How do you go about capturing who a client really is and transitioning that into a physical space?
That's a great question. So I'm very interested in psychology as well. I've been in therapy for 15 years. I've tried 14 types of different therapies like hypnosis, EMDR, alternative states of consciousness, talk therapy. I mean, I can continue naming it. And I'm just really fascinated by the psyche, not only to know myself, but also to get to know other people. And what I've noticed in my clients is people who come to me because I believe really in energy, people who come to hire me are people who have often the same profile. So it's people who are left brained, meaning they are VC, lawyers, medical people who think they don't have a sense of creativity. I don't think that's true, but that's their perception of themselves. And they're always in a phase of transition. So I'm going to have people who just had a baby or who are at an 8 months pregnant. I have people who just bought a new apartment because it's their first time buying a house and they have a lot of money all of a sudden, or people who are divorcing, people who are going through a breakup. So a lot of these people have an identity and something very disrupting, either positive or negative happens in their life. And they're kind of in a phase of rebuilding, hence their interest in decorating their apartment or redesigning their apartment. And so what I'm interested in is not what I think is nice, because I think a lot of people expect me to come in with, I'm from Paris and I'm from Hermès, so I know what looks good. Yes, I know what looks good, but what looks good for me doesn't necessarily look good for you. So I'm interested in knowing what version of that person is right now and what version they're trying to become. And that version that they're trying to become, what is it? What does their environment look like? So this is a little poetic. Let me give you a pragmatical example. So I had a client who was a very smart engineer, and he was going through a breakup, and he said his house was messy and he wanted something more organized and that looked more like a version of him that was a grown man who has an important job. He was getting promoted to lead a team in his work. So the person who leads a team of 14 people in a big software company is not going to live in go home in the evening to an apartment that just has a mattress on the floor and some beer cans on the side. It has to make sense. Unless you're schizophrenic and you're able to like have this split of personality, you have to embody the persona that you're trying to have, right? And so it was a long process where he was an avid reader. So we created a whole bookcase that was very elegant, but also very masculine. And what was very interesting in this process, I got my home organizer who explained to him how to organize his whole home. We put labels because that's what he wanted, labels. And got to see this man who was a little introverted, very smart, really bloom into a man. He started being more like kept, well dressed. He started to like stand straighter, started to even think about organizing events at his space, because now he had like a space he wanted to show to his friends. He actually had armchairs to accommodate people. We bought him a beautiful bar that was fine craftsmanship, and he wanted to put all his like whiskey collection there. It's nice to have those things when you're alone in your place, but then have people ask questions, have a conversation about it. It's so just like seeing his evolution over the time. I took him specifically because I have a soft spot for his evolution, but all my clients, and it's their own journey. I'm not doing anything. I'm following their lead. And that goes through art also.
Yeah, that's perfect. I feel like when you can really nail, it's, I'm not going to say easy because I'm not a designer, but it's easier to make a space look beautiful. It's easier to make it, people walk in and go, wow. But I feel like the trick, and I feel like something that you really go after is more so designing a space in this circumstance where it's opened him up. It's made him feel home. It's given him, like, I'm a massive labels man myself, and walking in and seeing my pantry just labeled out, it makes you feel comfortable, and it does it like in a weird way. It does make people come out of the shell, and that is the difference between designing a house and designing a home. So I think that's something that you've done amazingly well, and I feel like that's something that the listeners at home should really try and start emulating in their design stuff back there. So look, you do work with some very high achieving people. Do you find that your clients approach home design differently than most?
I'm gonna be honest, I haven't worked for people who are on a budget or people who are struggling financially. Not to say that design is only for people who have great means, but I am a luxury service. And if you are in survival mode, like a lot of people are, unfortunately, I don't think interior design is your main priority. I think you can do it on your own, figure out a few things through ChatGPT online. It's not going to be the same. I still think that if you are on a limited budget, you should have a very comfortable home and a beautiful home with colors, and it doesn't mean it needs to be very expensive. My clients, again, when I was telling you that I attract the same kind of individuals, they're also people who are very well read, very educated, and also, interestingly enough, they all have a connection to Paris, to France. So either they took French in school, or they have a fascination for Paris, or that's where they went for their honeymoon, or they're married to a Frenchman. And so I think they're really interested in that aspect. And the fact that they're high achievers means two things. It means that they want an kind of design that looks expensive. That doesn't mean marble, but it means something that doesn't look like IKEA. And IKEA is beautiful, but anyone, whether you're in the design industry or not, you can walk in a room and see if all the furniture is IKEA or not. And they want something that's really tailored to them. And that's how I personalize the design to my clients' spaces, because it's not about, oh, I'm going to put the same kind of layout and furniture that I put in my other the client space. It's, you have a lot of books and you want a whiskey bar. Not all my clients want that. And so we're going to design specifically what kind of wood fits for them. Do they want a bookcase that's more traditional? That means darker woods like you have behind you. Does it mean something more modern that's lighter woods? Do they want arches, something more feminine? Or do they want something very masculine and traditional, which is going to be more structured with blocks and straight lines? So budget is seldom a conversation. Of course, they're not unlimited in their budget because they are rich, because they're able to manage money well. But they understand that having a nice space takes a certain financial investment, and also having nice pieces. That's the main difference. Is IKEA is great if you are in a rental or if you are planning on staying in a space for, I've tried IKEA myself. It lasts between 0 and 5 years for someone who's like on the medium proportion of caring. I'm extremely careful, but I don't expect people to be. So 5 years is fine. If you're bought a place in New York that's starting $2 million for 2 bedrooms, if I install a bookcase that's $15K, that bookcase is going to stay there for 30 years without moving. And that's where you have to think about, is this worth my budget or not? Do I want a cheap furniture, affordable furniture that I'm going to throw away and like buy 5 of them in 30 years? Or do I want one piece that looks like me and that's going to stay forever? They understand uniqueness, quality, and craftsmanship.
That's perfect. So let's stay on the luxury clients train a little bit here. Expectations are obviously incredibly high. What systems or tools help you keep everything aligned, from project timelines, design details, collaborations with other tracks?
Yeah, I love your questions. They're very specific. So first off, my clients are mostly, they're all in New York. So New York or the Hamptons. And so they're Americans. Either they were born in another country, but they've been in, or they're born in the US, but they've been in the US for a long time. And a lot of people ask me, do you do projects in Paris? I love Paris, but you could not pay me to work with French people again. Americans are so trusting. And I think it's reflected in the corporate world. People hire very easily, but if you mess up, you're gone in 2 seconds. And I think that creates a lot of flexibility on the work market, which some people like, some people don't like. But I love working with Americans because they're so trusting. They're demanding, yes, but I'm the most demanding person in the room. I am the most demanding client. I am the most annoying client. So, and I think that's a gift. For a long time, I thought it was a curse because I'm always going to see what can be improved, because I'm always thinking as a business owner, the turnover of that table could have been done more efficiently. The busboy didn't see these people come in. But on the opposite, living in America and New York, I'm at restaurants. I stop people that I'm at the restaurant with. And I'm like, guys, did you understand what just happened here? And I'll give you an example. I was at the Pierre, which is a hotel on the Upper East Side, with 15 people last week. And I ordered a water, gave the guy my credit cards. Another waiter came in an hour later and I said, can I have the check, please? And he said, sure. And we all had our credit cards down. And I said, wait, I'll give you my name. He's like, no, you ordered the sparkling water. And I looked at everyone and I'm like, you guys, I don't think people care, but I couldn't stop talking about it. And so that my love language is really exceptional customer service. It's not about being like, I need to be served a certain way. It's about seeing people who actually care. And I was at a dinner 2 weeks ago where it was a private catering and the guy was so caring. It was not about business. It was about really putting your heart in what you do. So to answer your question, because I'm such a demanding client myself, and because I've worked for the most demanding company in France, which is Hermès, which I will not go into details in how demanding they are, but that's what makes the beauty of their products and their company. My clients are demanding, but not as demanding as I am.
Yes, that's fair. That's fair. All right. So look, luxury interiors is forever evolving, especially at the moment. Do you see any of the new technologies coming out making your job easier, harder? Do you think it benefits the industry? Where's your stand on that?
I am obsessed with AI. I love AI. And I'm sure it's disturbing some people, but at the end of the day, I think each person is really unique in their set of skills that they have. I'm not talking about the technical skills, but we we're still emotional beings, and we're going to work with people based on the other human beings we're interacting with. So if I give you an example, like I buy a lot of art, I bought this artist right there, and this artist only wanted to sell to clients who she met in person. And this artist now, after I bought her art, unrelated with me, got picked up by one of the biggest art galleries in the world. So now she's becoming super famous, just to say I have an eye for art. I reached out to the gallery. I was like, I want this artist. She wasn't super, super known back then. I just really fell in love with her art. And she wanted to sit down with me. And so we went and had dinner because she wanted to make sure that her art was in the hands of someone who she aligned with, not someone who's good and bad, someone who has who's going to go take good care of her art. And I think it's the same for all other businesses where I'm going to buy art from people. First, the art, I like the art, but then I'm going to meet the artist. And sometimes the artist is different from what I'm expecting. And
Made it. No, I'm just playing.
no, you know why? Because it's not because I don't get along with someone that the person is wrong. It could be me wrong. It's just we're not aligned, you know? So I love AI. I use AI for proposal renderings. I do that a lot. I use AI for all my copywriting. It's like having an assistant. Obviously, I'm doing all the ideas and all the way I want to turn the copywriting. I'm sure there's a lot of ways I could use AI that I'm not using it yet, for example, to increase sales in e-commerce or things like that. But I think it's an amazing tool, really.
Yeah, that was actually gonna be my next question. What implementations do you use in AI? So thank you for already answering that for me. But I do have a follow-up question for it. Do you use it in any way to automate menial tasks? So my take on AI is I think a lot different to a lot of the rest of the world because I'm pretty deep in it and I understand it a little bit more. I think it's a tool that we use to automate to take away menial tasks that don't need the human touch, which allows humans and creativity to flow and not be bogged down by those menial tasks. So I guess a long-winded way of asking you this question was this, but do you use it to alleviate some of the menial tasks that you find yourself doing day to day?
Yes, absolutely. I used to hire I had an assistant, an intern, and I hire a lot of contractors to do either my sketches or my 3D renderings or my floor plans. And unfortunately, it comes with, again, the human side. It's great because we're connecting with humans, but also humans are faulty. We all are. So the delays are longer. Sometimes they don't answer. Sometimes they're too busy and then they get sick. And sometimes I work at night a lot in the evening, and I can't expect people to be available between 9 p.m. and midnight when I need something right now, you know? So yeah, I use it for all the tasks that another person is trained to do. I don't see AI as a replacement for people use it to do music or to even create art. I don't think that could ever replace the human beings. So yeah, for automated tasks. And because I use a lot of different languages, when I want to like a specific translation, instead of thinking for hours about what the exact translation would be, I'll go in ChatGPT and ask for a translation based on the context that I want to use it. Formal, informal, am I speaking to a client, to a friend, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, perfect, perfect. I got a couple more questions before we get to wrap it up, but I want to circle back to that, what we just spoke about a little bit. But where do you see the company heading or your company heading in the next few years? What's your, let's just do, let's say 12-month plan and 5-year plan.
12-month plan. I'm currently developing some high ticket e-commerce products to implement in my clients' homes. So whether that's in the Hamptons or in Manhattan. So right now I'm selling a lot of furniture, which is everything from a sofa to a light fixture, a few art pieces, more accessible art pieces, because the rest of the time I'm in galleries to personalize the purchasing of the art. I'm adding what my clients want in their home once they have everything that they want. So that could be like a sauna, red light therapy, cold plunges, hyperbaric chambers, things like that. So you were asking earlier about my clients. How are they different? High achieving people, at least in the US, they are very health conscious. So they not only want a nice, but they also want a curated body, mental health, everything. So I thought of how I could enhance their space even more. And so I'm adding that to my e-commerce platform. So that's the 12-month plan, whilst continuing to do the interior design services based in New York and the Hamptons. And the 5-year plan, I see myself doing the same thing, a mix of services and furniture still in New York and the Hamptons. I would love at some point to do some chalets, because chalets are part of my culture. So, I don't know if I'm pronouncing correctly, the wooden houses in the mountains. And so I would love to do design of aspen chalets in Colorado. But besides that, I really have everything I want right now.
That's perfect. That's what I like to hear. That's actually one of my dream builds as well. I've always wanted to build the log cabin style of build, but
Nice.
uh,
But where would you do that in Australia?
we actually do have a few places. It's not as common as over here or Canada, but yeah, I'm off the tools now, so I think that dream is not going to happen. But look, if you had a magic wand right now to fix one thing in your business, what would that be? Would that be automating some task that you hate doing? Would that be getting more clients? What would that be?
I would take care of my Shopify store. I hired someone who's amazing, who built my whole platform, but then I have to do all the stuff now. She's on maternity leave and adding all the new products. I'm not a technical person. I'm a big picture person, so I can see what my client wants, how it will make them feel. But then all the technical stuff, like I don't know, like the editing, the subtitles, the titles, like I don't like doing that. I do it because I need to understand what's happening, but eventually that will be delegated to someone who I know I can trust. It's also hard to find people who understand your brand and who are going to do things in the way that you want them to do.
Yep, definitely, definitely. Well, automation hopefully is coming a very long way at the moment, so fingers crossed that it comes out. All right, look, I love the way you describe the home as a sanctuary. A lot of people overlook when they think about luxury. I'm gonna pass you the mic. Tell people what's going on. Tell people where to get in contact with you, and yeah, your final last words.
So, if you have a home in New York or the Hamptons that is empty, where you do not need construction, where you need furniture, lighting, and art, you can connect with me. You can go on my platform. My Instagram is carole.vaudable.design. I'm guessing you'll have that spelled out somewhere. And you can book a 15-minute phone consultation with me, and then we take it from there.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you very much for your time today. I think you had some very, very great points. You had some good advice for the listeners at home. So if you did get any value out of this, please pass it on to a friend, like, subscribe, and we will see you at the next one. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Danielle.